My name is Anne and I'm a co-founder of Jordnær Creative. And today we actually wanted to shoot this video for you outside in the sun, but due to the virus situation, there's just too many kids out playing, unfortunately. So welcome to my home. I hope it's going to be all right. I'm just going to use my laptop here as my slideshow, and some stuff will pop up on the screen during this video, as I'm looking at now. But in Jordnær Creative, we are working within the Danish film and entertainment industry to try and help them become more sustainable in the production. And today we'll introduce you to the huge impact that the entertainment industry has on the environment, both off-screen and on-screen. And also encourage you as young filmmakers to see the huge potential that you have to change the world and normalize sustainable behavior.
En af de ting, jeg allerbedst kan lide ved film, det er, at man får lov til at forstå hovedkaraktererne og ligesom spejle sig i dem.
Jeg tror bare, at man kobler lidt fra.
For at blive trukket ind i en anden verden og få et perspektiv på nogle ting på en ny måde, tror jeg.
In film, you need everything like what a person needs in his or her normal life. Catering is one issue. Of course, all the actors, they also have to wear clothes. Then it comes to props and production design. Set design is, of course, a big deal at film production. And a lot of carbon emissions are generated on energy and transportation.
The average production produces about 70 tons of CO2, which is the equivalent of 10 households in Belgium per year.
Whenever I came to the set, everybody was using plastic cups, go home by taxi, fly at home for one day because he is off. And I was always wondering, why do we behave like this? Why can't we be better persons also on the set?
And it's naive to believe that an entire industry only leaves a symbolic footprint because of its immaterial nature. There's so much more than the result that you see on the screen in terms of resources that is used. You can say that what you see on the screen is only the tip of the iceberg. And let's not make the same mistake as Titanic. Let's make culture more meaningful and with a more down-to-earth approach to film production. Through various cases, we'll now look at how to be more sustainable, both behind the scenes and in front of the screen. But first, I'll ask you to shut your eyes. And imagine yourselves on a tropical beach, on a paradise island, maybe Thailand. The sun feels warm on your skin, and you can hear the soft roar of the waves. Behind a palm tree, a shirtless Leonardo DiCaprio suddenly appears. And in the background, you can hear the sound of a bulldozer that starts crushing trees. So this was a short meditation on the wide-known example from Maya Beach, where the famous film The Beach was filmed. And it's a good example of a very bad example, where they actually, because they redesigned the whole beach, they had to destroy more or less the whole ecosystem on this beach to create the scenery. So a lot of things happened behind the scenes that actually destroyed the beach. And moreover, after the movie became famous, it created a huge problem with mass tourism in the area that has damaged the ecosystem even more. So just one film has actually created a more or less disaster that is still affecting the environment right now. And film as an art form has a huge influence on both society and how we perceive issues. So therefore, you as an artist, you're creating very powerful content, and you have to think about how you're communicating and how you use this power to commentate on our reality, everybody's reality. And you just have this, as I told you before, you have a huge potential and responsibility in the stories you choose to tell and the way you tell them. So I'm going to read to you a short quote from a media professor who is called Sean Cubitt. It is not only because both economics and politics have failed to create sustainable ways of life, or even to address them, that we need to turn to aesthetics. An aesthetic approach must consider both the sustainability of the media themselves as material practices and their role in mediating between phyla and among humans. A movement through communication as a means towards communication as goal. Okay, so now I will, in short, try to explain some of the off-screen methods that we use to make a more responsible production. This is what has the most direct environmental impact. So in Jordnær Creative, which is my company, there's much more of our type of companies out in Europe and in the States. Still waiting for some in Norway. But like, we're the ones that behind the scenes are putting on our gloves. For instance, these. When we are sorting the waste, for instance, on a production. And we believe that especially two things are of importance. So responsibility is a huge headline for us. It always sounds a bit old school to say you have to be responsible. But when we say responsibility, it means all the way from when you get materials, either if you buy them, rent them, whatever, when you use materials, and be responsible when you get rid of them again. This whole line is very important, that is well thought through, and that's, among other things, something that we help the production company do. But another thing that we think is very important is the whole workplace, because you can do only this much when you're at home, in your private life, but in your workplace, you can, first of all, you have a huge impact because you're there for many hours, there's so many people, but you can also make your work more meaningful by implementing more sustainable, what is it called? Ways of work. So some of the things that we do is, for instance, make sure that there's zero waste. So at least that's our aim. So we give solutions that is everything from reusable bottles. It's trying to have zero plastic on set. We don't want food waste, so we make sure there's a food waste service that comes pick up everything that's left from catering. As you saw with the gloves, we also sort the trash so that you don't just throw it away in one bag, but we sort it for them, so we end the waste. Another thing that we do is that we measure the carbon footprint. So we have a huge data collection during film production or any media production, and then we can calculate how much CO2 this production emits. So we also set goals for the production so that they can try and limit what we expect them actually to emit. And that was just short about us. So I will move on to talk a bit about what's going on screen. Changing attitudes and behavior isn't just the result of how a piece of content is created, but also what the piece of content says. I'm gonna start where the story begins, in the writing. Because the messages that we put out are super important. fiction moves us. It changes the way we see the world and makes us identify with characters and moods. So to give an example, for instance, the great Norwegian TV series Heimbane. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but at least we were huge fans of this series. But it's a super good example of how to write a quite sustainable script, because not only is it it's putting a lot of subjects on the map, for instance with equality, because it's about this first female coach in the Norwegian elite series in football, you probably know. So this strong woman, la la la, but it also writes itself in trying to sustain Norwegian culture, and is only recorded in Norway in small towns. So the whole production is actually very sustainable written, you can say. That was only a short example. But it's all about creating content that will help the audience connect with nature instead of being more alienated from it. So the usual examples are always crazy action scenes where you blow things up and you you destroy stuff instead of actually taking care of resources and being good to nature. Yeah, so we're an industry that reaches millions of people, and we have to start writing content that is more down to earth. Yeah, so many script writers will say that they worry about it's gonna be, you know, restricting them in the creative process. It's gonna kill the vibe. It's gonna be boring. You cannot play with big, beautiful aesthetics if you have to always take care of the planet in it. But we think there's so many good examples, and it's actually about being creative in this process and not just use all your millions blowing things up because you have millions. You can actually use them in a more sustainable way. So another example that of a very sustainable script where you not necessarily see it on the screen, because it's not about nature and smelling grass and yeah, there's actually no real nature in the film, but it's The Guilty. It's a Danish film that was nominated for a lot of prizes in last year. It's from 2018. And where it is written sustainable is in the fact that it's one location. So basically the whole film is shot in this one location, which is an alarm central where a police officer keeps calling out from that. So basically the entire plot is based in this one room. So that is very sustainable. But now we want to move on to the more, you can say, hidden messages that that can lie in a film, both good and bad. you just saw was a small compilation that we made for this festival last year, where we tried to highlight some of the bad behavior that we unfortunately see in media that affects its audiences often in a bad way as well. So this was just cigarettes that was thrown in just a few films and TV series that I could come to think of in a couple of days. I keep seeing it still in films where they obviously just make it cool to throw a cigarette on the ground. And now we see everywhere outside people are throwing them still, even though they would never throw a piece of plastic maybe, but a cigarette butt is actually plastic. But because you see it over and over again, that your heroes are just throwing them and being cool, that's what you do as well. So bad behavior on screen can lead to bad behavior in real life. Maybe not scientifically proven, but that's what we're going to say today. So what we want to highlight again is that you need to make movies that can influence the audience in an environmentally friendly way instead. So an example, one of the other team members in Jordnær actually worked on the TV series called Ragnarok. So we decided to take that as an example today as well, where we actually have a character that is an environmental activist. And they have these, other than she being that character, they have all these hidden positive product placement, you can say. So for instance, she has a poster of Greta Thunberg on her wall. She has stickers on her computer that is environmental activist in that way. So so you're actually nudged to see that on the screen.
Fish does not look like this. If you ask at the country office, they will say everything is peachy and normal in the fjord. Something killed you, and I don't think you're gonna be the last one to die. Unless we do something about it.
And now we will show you a short clip from an amazing movie that's called Woman at War. It's Icelandic, and we actually got permission to show you a clip from the actual movie from the director today. This is one of the best examples, we think, a contemporary example of a film that really can influence the audience on screen. So we believe that this film is a great example of how the way the main character, she interacts with nature in her local environment, makes it easier for the audience to identify with nature and maybe be able to create a new norm for nature appreciation. Moreover, she is also shooting archers in this film a great lot. So 2 other examples of films that actually had a huge impact on behavior was released in 2012. It has nothing to do directly with the environment, but it was Hunger Games in the Disney movie Brave, where both main characters were female archers, just as we saw in Women at War. She's the same, but after these 2 films were released in 12, you actually saw that girls' participation in archery doubled. So we believe that we need more films and media in general that will inspire to more environmental friendly behavior. So not only archery, but also help us identify more with nature. So yeah, we hope this has inspired you at least to wanting to dig more into these subjects, and that we all together can help create more sustainable content that will inspire the audience, but also inspire all the film workers that's working behind the screen. So we in our work can take care of nature at the same time. So this was all I had for now. As I said, I hope you will all be inspired, and if you have any questions, you should always be able to ask us. You can write us an email or call or find us on Facebook or Instagram. Of course, whatever you want. Enjoy.